The building trades invest $1 billion a year of private money to develop a skilled workforce. And so I want to challenge the assumption that the only way to move policy is to increase government spending. What we're trying to measure here is outcomes.
And that was Labor Secretary Alexander Acosta addressing the administration's workforce development plan. President Trump continues to tout the stock market rally and robust job growth as the economy emerges as a bright spot for the administration. Let's take a look at some of these key factors. And don't forget this, okay? Since the election, the S&P 500 up more than 12%. 12%. That's right. That's right in your 401k. Unemployment has reached a 16-year low. And economic growth in the coming year is expected to reach 2.3%, more robust growth than the 1.6% it grew in 2016. Joining me now, Vince Coglianese, Emily Jashinsky, and Amy Tarkanian. Welcome all. Vince, I'll start with you. President just can't seem to get any credit here for what is an improving economy. Why is that?
Well, for one, he's got a recalcitrant Congress, and any hope that tax legislation, for instance, will be passed might put a damper on some of that upward trajectory of the economy. But the truth is, economic optimism has reigned since the election of Donald Trump. It continues, and I just think the risk of even new regulations coming along seems to be very low in a Trump administration. So as a result, economic prosperity reigns, and the private market's responding well to the government's interactions.
Well, Vince, I mean, look, it's not new regulations coming along. The president's undoing old ones. Something like $3.6 trillion worth of regulations are being ripped away by the Trump administration, which is another positive for the economy. You know, I listened to that presser, and I was listening to the questions from reporters, and it was remarkable how many, like, ridiculously stupid questions were asked. Not by our reporters, of course. But, Emily, to you, I mean, when you look at this, it seems like it's impossible to explain to these reporters who are used to covering politics and not economics.
Yeah, and that's absolutely a problem, I think, in the journalism world from a larger standpoint. And what was so interesting to me, this was a breath of fresh air, by the way, because something that went completely unnoticed last week is the BLS, the Bureau of Labor Services, announced there are a record number of jobs available in the country right now. And the skills gap is contributing to the reason that a lot of those can't be filled. And listen, people my age were not brought up to value as highly as they should a lot of these jobs, like construction. Secretary Acosta talked about how many vacancies there are in the construction industry, and they're only increasing. And a lot of people my age weren't taught to value those jobs, and high schools, you know, direct people towards college without valuing other opportunities. So this is a serious, serious problem, and I really hope the administration goes to work on it.
Let me tell you, once you own a home, you start to value those trades. My plumber is one of the wealthiest people I know. It's astonishing to me. But Donald Trump himself addressed this issue of who gets credit and for what. Listen to this.
We had the greatest bill in the history of the world on health care. We wouldn't get one vote from the Democrats because they're obstructionists. That's what they want to do. That's the game. They think that's their best political game. They're obstructionists, and that's sad.
It's sad. The Democrats are obstructionists. Amy, what do you make of that?
I would agree with the president. It's a shame because President Obama, it took 14 months to get his version passed with a Democrat-held Senate and House. So I think everyone just needs to take a step back, let the Republicans put their final bill together so that way they can then submit it to the CBO, come back a couple weeks later, and then everyone can decide and take a vote on it.
Take a vote on it. Vince, to you, you know, we talk about this economy, we talk about the president and the focus on things that, you know, look, at the end of the day, if it's not about taxes, if it's not rewriting the tax code, if it's not helping people with their health care, why are we focused on it? I mean, aren't people out there tired of hearing this kind of rhetoric over and over and over again?
Well, Americans are sick of the bitterness in Washington, and I think the risk that these Democrats are running, and Republicans to the extent that they're involved, is that they allow that bitterness to consume them, and actually is disorienting. And for them to continually focus on things that they think they can score cheap political points on, make some fundraising dollars, for instance, ultimately they're not going to serve their constituencies well unless they go back to the table and they say, okay, where do we agree? Infrastructure has long been an area where they supposedly agree. How come we're not seeing more movement on that? And instead, a lot of focus on investigation so far that's yielded no real results. And it's kind of a sad state of affairs in Washington.
All right, but it seems two sides talking past each other all the time, it seems.